And it seems I'm losing my voice, which is perfect timing for this, so bear with me. Thanks, Pete. I'll try to keep my figure up. So Pete did a great job at explaining who I am. Been at Stone for 19 years. It's been a great journey, and especially after my short wine career. So excited to talk to you today about what we do at Stone with hops and how we think about hops, and then Hop Quality Group. So for us, Stone Hop innovation comes in really three buckets for me: is hop trials, and then hops and pilots to beer releases, and then of course hop selection. We're very lucky at Stone to have three robust pilot breweries. We have a small batch 6-barrel system in Escondido at our mothership brewery that's run by Steve Gonzalez. We also have a 10-barrel system in Liberty Station down by the airport in San Diego. You can see Chris Ketchum on the upper right hand flipping me off, trying to be sly there. So, and then we also have another 10-barrel system which was in Napa, but unfortunately because of COVID, we had to close Napa. And that system now is sitting in our other production brewery in Richmond, Virginia. And so we hope to have that system back up and running sometime next year. So a lot of capacity to do trials, and we do all sorts of trials, not just hops, but definitely a big focus for us is hop trials. So we have a single hop recipe that we've been using for years. It's very simple. We call it single hop, although the bittering hop is actually Magnum. We want to take that variable out and just have the trial hop itself go in the whirlpool and dry hop. Simple malt bill, just 2-row. We use our Stone house yeast. And then a little bit of controversy, I guess, sometimes when I talk to people about our pilot brews is that we use 7.7 as our standard ABV. I've gotten a lot of feedback that people think that's too high. We make a lot of high alcohol beers. We make a lot of hoppy beers, and we think that alcohol level is actually nice to really showcase the hops and kind of bring out those attributes. So types of hop trials that we do. Obviously, new varieties is a big push. We are always trialing new hops. We do a lot of support for both public and private hop breeding. So we'll do a lot of very, very new hops through our systems in support of breeding. And then obviously new varieties that come out or that we're interested in. Revisiting varieties is really key too, and I think people might forget about that sometimes. When hops are new and in development, they can really change over the first few years of development, and whether agronomics get better or the picking windows get fine-tuned. So I think it's important with a new hop to really trial it over several harvests. Also, just going back to hops that you've used before or maybe you've gotten away from, we actually did that recently with Motueka. And so there's a chart up there of the recent spider graph from that trial. We really like that hop, and it's just a hop that we hadn't used in several years and actually found its way into a release recently. And then, of course, using the same hop from different growers, different vendors. And then we also do trials on our selected hops from selection every year. And then, of course, all the other different hop products, different dry hop techniques, if we're trying to optimize something, and then terroir, picking windows, et cetera. So once we do a trial, then we, of course, have to evaluate it. We'll go through full sensory at Stone. We'll also send beer to the breeder or vendor or grower that we got the hop from. And have them do their own sensory, and then we can get together and share that feedback and talk about the hop. There's a picture of OJ there for some that we did a couple years ago. He's, I think, already left, but always great to send those beers out and get that feedback directly from the grower or vendor. And then we can compare and discuss, and then, of course, record that data so we have a nice historical shot of all these hops. We have the spider graph up there of Peacherine, so one of the newer Hāpi hops. Very excited about that hop. As you can see on the graph there, it's pretty expressive. Lives up to its name in the stone fruit. It also has some tropical and sweet aromatics. So that's a hop that we recently found that we're very excited about, and actually going to have that shortly in a couple of releases. So after trials, then what, right? So then we think about where these hops fit into our releases. So we work on release calendars every year. I'd like to say that we started 2023 and 2021 and wrapped it up in 2022, but we actually just finished about a month ago. So kind of typical, but we try to go pretty far out. Obviously, things can change a lot in a year and a half to 2 years. So that's always in the back of our mind as well. But we have several releases. Obviously, we always have our core beers, and then sometimes newer core beers. And we have a lot of capacity for special releases. We have a new program called One Batch Dispatch, which are just single batches that just go e-commerce or in our tap rooms. So there's a lot of nice outputs for opportunity for a lot of the hops that we play with. And of course, single hops don't often make these releases. Sometimes they do, but usually we're thinking about hops in combination with other hops or other ingredients. Had a lot of talk about sensory today. It's interesting to hear about all this work on the analytics side. And it's very exciting and very cool. But I guess at the end of the day, these two things work really well together, right? They support each other. And at the end of the day, the sensory side is obviously critical. And so for our beers that we put together, we have a lot of panels, but our main brewmaster panel that we have 3 times a week is where we do our trials and kind of discuss our newer beer releases coming up. And then if we really like something, we can show it to our executive taste panel, which is once a month. So just a few new beer releases to tell you about, and you'll get to try a few of these later this afternoon. Actually, not too far in the future here, which would be great. Stone Patio Magic Double IPA, brand new release. Pretty excited about this beer. It's got Phantasm from New Zealand in it, which really accentuates the fruitiness and the hops in the beer. It's Southern Aroma hops from South Africa. HBC sponsored hop from Stone, actually, 843, and Mosaic and Centennial, and there's actually some citrus in there as well. So a really innovative beer, really cool project that we've been working on. Been trialing Phantasm for about a year now and really like the results. Stone Delicious is a beer that's about ready to overtake Stone IPA as our big workhorse for Stone. We decided to expand it this year into a family of beers. So El Dorado is a hop that we've loved for a long time, and it's really the cornerstone hop with Delicious. We started to talk about what we could do with El Dorado and what we could do if we wanted to expand into a couple of different releases that would be different, but still kind of share that, what we call that delicious attribute. And so we came up with Citrus Delicious and Double Delicious, which all have El Dorado, but then some other hops. And actually, Citrus has citrus in it as well. It's really cool when our special releases can actually highlight hops and actually tell the consumer what the hops are. Whether the consumer cares or not, I don't know. We're excited about it. I know everybody in this room is excited about hops. And I think we have made some headway into getting consumers to think about hops, but maybe not so much on the broader, beer consumer. But these have been some fun releases that we've done that actually told everybody out front what the hop was. We had a Hop Revolver series, which was basically out of our trials that were single hop releases that we actually would, change it out into mix pack and it would highlight a hop. We did about 14 of those. That was really cool. And then recently on that One Batch Dispatch program, kind of circling back to Motueka, we did a one-off release of, and that's a single hop IPA, but it's a double IPA. So it's up in the kind of towards the 9% ABV. So pretty cool to have those types of releases. And then hop selection, my very favorite time of the year. Just kind of tell you about our approach. Very important for us to have a consistent selection group, so we try to have the same people every year go and select hops. I've obviously been at Stone for so long, I've been a constant, but we've done a pretty good job the last few years having the same group. Really important, what we do beforehand is we'll do a pre-harvest review of what we're going to select. We remind ourselves what we are looking for in the hops that we're picking, which obviously might be different than other breweries. But we have a whole list of descriptors and intensity ratings that we use, and we review that both prior to going to harvest, and then actually at the table, selection table, we'll kind of do a refresh and remind. Again, this is mostly all sensory. It's variable what kind of analytics you do get, depending on what grower or vendor that you're working with. And we'll do everything blind and then look at those that data. But in the end, really, it's heavy on the sensory side of things. We come to a consensus. Although I like to always say that I'm always right. But no, we actually agree pretty well, and we have a good conversation and decide on what we're going to pick. And then again, very important for us is to brew with what we selected as soon as we can. So as soon as we can get, a box of a new year of a hop, we'll brew with that. So we have a lot of trials going on after harvest, or a few months after harvest. This really came into play a few years back when we thought we had selected perfectly a mosaic lot and then put it into a release, and it was really over dank and kind of leaning towards that onion garlic side. We were able to adjust, and we put that into the whirlpool, and we got another lot of mosaic that was really fruity that we put in the dry hop and made for a great complex beer. But it really taught us a lesson of, we should really brew with these, because again, you don't really know until you know, right? And so that's been a great a key for us, a lever to pull. And then obviously we have all this data, so we can review and log it and use it for the future. Also, the great thing about hop selection is getting out there, walking the fields with the breeders and the growers, seeing what is out there, seeing what is coming on, having these conversations, strengthening our relationships, and then seeing new hop products, which every year you see a new hop product, at least one, right? If not more, or several. It's pretty exciting innovation right now in the hop world. Not just with all these different areas that are growing hops, but with the actual different products as well. So that's always very exciting, and a big education of what we can think about when we're thinking about it, innovation with hops. And then talking to other brewers. You go to Yakima and it's like Disneyland of brewers, and everybody's there and everybody's at the same bars, and it's a great chance to really interact with each other, share information, and learn things from each other. So yeah, in summary, hop trials drive a lot of our innovation at Stone. From that point, it really gets us thinking about, okay, where are we going to go with this hop, if we're going to go with that hop, and what hops do we think it'll play with, or maybe not necessarily hops, maybe other ingredients as well. We have our expectations for the hops that we select every year. As we discover newer hops, obviously we'll have a new set of expectations. Our support and experimentation with new varieties and with the public and private breeding really fuels a lot of innovation as well. And then all these inputs and things that we do really informs potential new beers. And now to shift gears. So we'll jump into hop quality. How am I doing on time? Perfect. So yeah, I'd like to talk to you about the hop quality group now. So this is a nice kind of general statement of what our group is about and kind of our vision in one sentence. But the Hop Quality Group advocates for all craft brewers, not just members, in the maintenance and improvement of hop quality, in addition to developing and sharing useful information about the quality characteristics of hops. We're up to 16 members plus now. Several of them are here today, which is very cool. So, pretty good round of breweries, I think. And a pretty strong membership at this point after 12 years. A lot of experience, a lot of perspective, a lot of knowledge. Our organization has a board of directors. We have very strict antitrust guidelines. So we are not a buying group. We don't talk price. We don't collude. We don't talk about preferences of growers. We are really at heart about hop quality, and we are for the industry, for the brewing industry and for the hop industry. So it's very important. I didn't list out all the slides because it's pretty long, the antitrust rules, but we review those and mention those at every time we meet. We also have a code of conduct. We're trying to be diverse and inclusive. We have a third-party reporting system called WeVow if somebody wants to make a complaint or has a concern. And we're also established as a nonprofit organization. We have 9 very active committees. This has been the really cool thing for me to see, being in the group almost the whole time. But we've really grown in not just membership, but what we do. And these committees really drive a lot of what we're trying to do. So you can see membership, technical, D&I, grow relations, pellet mill, finance governance, marketing, public hop reading, and then we have a scholarship fund as well. Just real quickly, brief history. This group was formed in 2010. It was really born out of conversations about this gap that we saw between craft brewers and hops. The big macro breweries really did a great job for several years, really pushing quality and being connected to that. And we felt as craft brewers that we were kind of outside of that conversation. So we wanted to create a group to really get into that conversation and kind of force that conversation. We had our first informal meeting in 2010. And that same year, we started doing farm tours and looking at processing facilities. The nonprofit was established the next year, and this says that we grew to 56 members in 2021, but now we're already over 60. So just to highlight a few of our committees and kind of the focus of our work that we're trying to do. Grower relations is really important. We look at ways that we can engage with growers and vendors. It all starts with the growers. And we are a group that celebrates the growers, and we're trying to build relationships with the growers and the vendors. And we've really come a long way. Early on, we made it a big, tried to do a soft approach and ensure everybody that we're not the hop police. We're not coming down, kicking down the door saying, hey, we're these ultra cool kid craft brewers, and you better do what we want you to do. Obviously, we are the customer, but this was more about learning from each other, and we need each other. This is a relationship, so that really is the focus of the group in these visits. We do annual pre-harvest farm visits, focused around food safety. We're not, a certification program or auditors or official auditors, but we do have checklists and we do have things that we've seen after doing this for several years. There's great, domestically, there's some great organizations like Global Gap, YCH has Green Chief, there's ISO, there's a lot of great certification programs that are doing a lot of great work. And we always like to see those programs enacted. So this is just another, avenue and perspective of feedback from us as craft brewers. Just a few slides on kind of the food safety aspects that we look for. We always like to see lots of signage. So that's a good picture of no pets and no smoking. Coverage on a building so that birds don't get in is always really nice to see. Separate hand washing or restroom facilities and separate break rooms outside of the processing. So those are just a few of the positive things that we look for and see. And then, of course, you'll see a bucket of foreign material. I don't know how a baseball bat got in there, but you can ask a grower and they'll tell you lots of stories about different things that can wind up in hops. I remember seeing that in wine grapes as well. So obviously processes to be put into place to avoid that. And then you see some insulation tear that's actually above a kiln bed. So, that's concerning. Don't want other things dropping into hops, and especially since we're doing so much with dry hopping, going directly into a beer without the kill step. We also are doing public hop breeding. So, private breeding has been really strong for several years, and there's been kind of an imbalance between private and public. I think both are great, but it's nice to have a balance, and so we're working towards helping with that. There is a great public hop breeding program already with USDA, and we're just supplementing that and just trying to get more options and opportunities for hops. Obviously, they have to be agronomically viable, pest and disease resistant, but also really looking at those desirable oil contents similar to our favorite hops that are out there. And then obviously a lot of discussion about thiol chemistry today, and we're looking at that as well. You saw our list of breweries. It's a lot, and we have a lot of great people that we can do sensory with. So that's a big part of our evaluation on the public hop breeding side. And the breeding is also part of our technical committee. Again, with those breweries that we have in membership, a lot of great expertise and technical savvy. So we have a really strong technical group as well. Looking at best practices, things like hop creep, thiols again. We did a study on sulfur application, yeast and hop interactions. Did some drying trials as well several years ago. Obviously, the drying is complicated. You can't really just say one temperature is going to work for everything. There's a lot of airflow and other considerations, but a lot of people are employing the lower temperatures with proper airflow that works in their system, and I think we've seen a lot of good quality from that. So we do have a scholarship. We established this in 2019 to honor our friend and hop grower Dan Martinez Jr., who passed away. So we have this membership that's funded by our group and industry partners as well to benefit students who have family members working in the hop industry. It's been a really cool thing to see. These young folks get this scholarship and try to help out. Obviously, education is expensive, so anything that we can do to kind of better the industry, we want to do it. So this last year, 4 students were awarded $1,000 scholarships. A couple from Oregon, 1 from Washington, 1 from Virginia. Alex alluded to the Cascade Cup earlier. So that's been fun for us, something we started pretty early on. Kind of going back to Alex's slides, it's interesting. There's quite a few Oregon Cascades in there. But as mentioned, Billy Goat Hop Farm won this last year from Colorado. And this is true to type Cascade in our minds, and we thought that was the best true to type. So pretty cool. But just it's fun. Growers, especially in America, like to gamble. So this is kind of up there with a gambling thing and nice competition. We have a beautiful actual cup, like the Stanley Cup. So the winner will get that and get to keep that for a year. And then get their name on the plaque, and then we'll pass it on to the next winning grower. I should also just mention that we're a domestic group, at least for now. Our members are all domestic, American breweries. I'd like to see that expand at some point. Obviously, we're starting to expand our visits. It was very focused on just the traditional American hop areas. But last year we did our first official visit as a group to Germany, and this year we did Australia and New Zealand a couple days ago. So it's been really cool to kind of expand our scope and our focus as we grow and get more resources as a group. Yeah, and I just want to thank everybody so much. Great to be part of a really amazing list of speakers today. It's so nice to be back here in New Zealand. So nice to be able to travel again. COVID really put a damper on travel. And, we wanted to come to New Zealand as a group 3 years ago and weren't able to. We ended up doing a virtual, gathering with different hop growers in New Zealand. And that was fantastic, but nothing beats, being here in person and being able to, talk with you, and more importantly, share a beer. So just want to thank you so much. Great to be back. If you have any questions, obviously you can ask while we're having beers. But there's my email and also Hop Quality Group, the web address. And thank you so much. Really appreciate the time.